It all began with a simple, seemingly insignificant detail, one Harry couldn't shake off no matter how hard he tried. 3 weeks had passed since the scandalous yacht photos of Meghan surfaced, but there was something about that image of her that kept drawing him back. It wasn't just the flash of her smile or the background noise of the party, it was the navy blue canvas bag lying unnoticed on the deck. Nothing special at first glance, but the gold lettering on the front hit him like a thunderbolt: Soho House. Harry's stomach twisted. His mind raced. Soho House, that exclusive, members-only sanctuary of the rich and powerful where Meghan had spent countless years, a place where secrets and whispers floated as freely as the champagne, and every corner hid connections that could make or break a career. Suddenly, a nagging suspicion surged within him. What was Meghan really doing there? Without warning, Harry's world, once built on trust and love, began to crumble. What he thought had been a coincidence, nothing more than a casual association, no longer felt like that. This bag wasn't just some random possession, it was a symbol. His wife, Meghan Markle, had been part of a world he knew nothing about, a world she had lived in long before he entered the picture. Compelled by a dark, undeniable need for answers, Harry's fingers trembled as he opened a browser tab. His mind raced as he typed in the names that had been lingering at the back of his thoughts for days: Soho House, Marcus Anderson, Meghan Markle. What came next chilled him to the core. Marcus Anderson wasn't just Meghan's quirky Toronto friend, as Harry had always believed. No, he was a power broker, someone who knew how to climb the social ladder with style, introducing beautiful women to wealthy men. But what he found wasn't just a casual acquaintance, it was a calculated partnership. Marcus wasn't merely a friend. He was the mastermind behind the scenes, making sure Meghan was always in the right places, meeting the right people. Was he Meghan's handler? As the reality of what he had uncovered began to sink in, Harry could hardly breathe. His chest tightened, his heart pounding in his ears. How had he never seen this before? The strange connection between Marcus, Meghan, and the powerful world she had seamlessly integrated into all made sense now. It was all too orchestrated, too calculated. And the worst part, Harry had been blinded by love, too wrapped up in Meghan's charm to ever question her ties to this elusive world. But then, in the stillness of the night, the truth came crashing down. Harry picked up the phone, his hand shaking as he dialed the number of a former Soho House member. This wasn't just a casual conversation. It was the truth he desperately needed to hear. And what he learned left him paralyzed. Marcus Anderson didn't just socialize, he trained women to climb the social ladder, introducing them to the wealthy elite, positioning them for success in ways Harry had never imagined. The final blow came when Harry learned that Meghan had never paid a dime for her Soho House membership. Someone powerful had been backing her all along, paying for her access to this elite world, funding her transformation from a mere actress into the socialite she had become. The expenses for her designer clothes, flights across the globe, yacht accommodations, none of it added up. And the answer, once discovered, was impossible to ignore. What Harry found was nothing short of a betrayal. As he scanned through the wedding guest list, he saw names he now knew were connected to Soho House. People who had been part of the network that had molded Meghan into the woman she had become. The over 60 of the 200 guests on Meghan's side were members, key players in the very network that had crafted her rise to fame. Harry's heart sank. The wedding he had thought was a celebration of love was nothing more than a carefully orchestrated gathering of powerful people, all tied to Marcus's world. It wasn't just his marriage that had been planned, it was his life. Every moment, every introduction, every whisper was part of a larger design. And Harry, for the first time, understood the magnitude of the deception. He had been targeted, not loved. Meghan hadn't fallen into his world, she had climbed into it, step by step. The realization shattered him. Now, as Harry lay awake in the dark, his mind raced through every detail, every conversation, every decision. Was any of it real, or had he simply been the final piece in a puzzle he never saw coming? This was no longer a love story. It was a story of power, manipulation, and betrayal. And the worst part? Harry had been the last to know. The darkness that had settled inside Harry now felt like a weight he couldn't escape. Every night was filled with a storm of questions that kept him from rest, each one more paralyzing than the last. He couldn't shake the feeling that he had been living in a lie. Meghan, the woman he thought he knew, the woman he loved, had been playing a part in a game he never knew existed. But the game was far more dangerous than he could have ever imagined. His nights were consumed with research, questions, and the gnawing fear that he'd been the last to figure it out. But what terrified him more than anything else was the possibility that maybe, just maybe, he had always been part of the plan. It wasn't just about Marcus. It wasn't even just about Meghan's secretive world or the elite, carefully curated circles she had been moving in long before they'd even met. No, this was something far darker. This was about the network that had had been watching them. Harry's mind reeled with the thought, had the people in his world, the very people who had built him up, seen him as nothing more than a pawn in a much larger game? Every whisper, every forced smile, every conversation he thought was genuine now felt like a trap. Marcus Anderson, her mysterious, elusive friend, hadn't just been playing a part. He had been a puppet master, pulling strings from the shadows, crafting the story that Meghan was playing. Harry was no different. He was just another piece on the chessboard. He remembered the day of their engagement, the day he thought everything was finally falling into place. But now, it all felt like an illusion. He couldn't stop the sinking feeling that the life he had built with Meghan was nothing more than a performance, a story written by someone else. And the worst part? He had been so eager to play his role that he never even questioned the script. The night he discovered the truth, Harry found himself once again staring at that photo of Meghan on the yacht. But now, it wasn't just the bag that caught his eye, it was the people surrounding her. The way they seemed so comfortable, so at home in that world. A world Harry was now realizing he was never really a part of. It felt like a cruel joke. Meghan had been playing a role in this game of power, positioning herself among the elite, all the while keeping Harry in the dark. And what was he left with? A shattered heart, a life built on lies, and the undeniable feeling that he had been nothing more than a stepping stone. But it wasn't just the wedding or the hidden networks that had been bothering him, it was everything. Meghan's past was starting to unravel before his eyes. All those late nights, all those times she had been busy or distracted, all those unexplained absences, it was all adding up. And none of it pointed to a life Harry had ever known. The more he dug, the more Harry realized that Meghan had been deeply embedded in a world that was nothing like the one he had imagined for their future. A world of wealth, power, and connections. A world that Harry had never been invited into until now. The thought that he had been manipulated into marrying Meghan, into believing she was the woman of his dreams, ate at him like a sickness. How had it all happened so fast? One minute, he was in love with her, completely enamored by her beauty and charm. The next, he was drowning in secrets, feeling like a fool for trusting her. His thoughts shifted to the wedding day again, the moment when everything should have been perfect, when he should have felt joy, excitement, and love. Instead, Harry felt nothing but the cold weight of betrayal. He scanned the faces in the crowd, his heart sinking with each new revelation. Those smiles, those familiar, welcoming smiles, weren't what they seemed. They were the smiles of people who had been waiting for this moment, for Harry to fall into their trap, to be part of their plan. The phone call he'd made to his old friend, the one who had warned him about Marcus, echoed in his mind. He had ignored it then, blinded by love, desperate to hold on to the illusion that everything was perfect. But now it was too late. The damage had already been done. Harry's mind raced as he replayed every moment, every single word that had ever been spoken between him and Meghan. Had it all been part of a grand scheme, a plan that had been in motion long before he even knew her? Or was he just another casualty of a love story that had been written with someone else's hand? He tried to hold on to the hope that he could fix it, that the truth didn't have to change everything. But deep down, he knew it was too late. Meghan had been playing him from the very start. And now, the woman he had trusted more than anyone had become the source of his heartbreak. The truth he had been avoiding for so long was finally staring him in the face, and there was no escaping it. The love he had once felt for Meghan was now a distant memory, a ghost that haunted him as he lay awake in the silence of the night. The reality of their marriage was more complicated than he had ever imagined, and the road ahead was filled with nothing but questions. But one thing was certain, the man who had married Meghan Markle was no longer the same man. The prince who had hoped to find happiness had been replaced by someone else. Someone who knew that the truth was far more dangerous than any fairy tale.